At Crown Jewel 2024, something happened that generated a lot of talk in the world of sports entertainment. In a highly anticipated match that had been building for weeks, Seth Rollins defeated Bronson Reed, the visionary overcoming the TSUNAMI specialist. And there, one can be outraged. Did WWE not completely bury the big man by making this creative choice? Was Rollins selfish in this story? And would he have acted like a Hulk Hogan back in the day? What about that confrontation they had in Saudi Arabia? Are we heading towards a total fiasco for one of the wrestlers with the biggest potential in the Stamford Federation? Should we trust in Triple H's vision? Grab a nice hot coffee. We're going to talk about all this together without any reservations.
You are on the Wrestling Paradise.
Seth Rollins against Bronson Reed. Relevant choices or catastrophic ones? Let's go.
The monster is back on his feet.
One thing is certain, the match between Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel 2024 is generating a lot of talk. And for various reasons, settle in comfortably, we will discuss it together. And it's true that there are still some questions that arise, and we can be worried about the future. Of course, we still need to contextualize this match. Why? It raises questions about why some people are unhappy, and especially where the frustrations we might feel afterward come from. So first of all, I would like to remind everyone who may not have seen it that I did a heartwarming piece some time ago on the channel about Big Bronson Reed. Go watch the video if you haven't seen it yet. You'll feel my love for this big man. As someone who loves larger-than-life wrestlers, as the loyal viewers of the channel know, I was really excited regarding the emergence of
Big Bronson Reed
gaining momentum in the fall of 2024 on Monday Nitro. For example, we remember that epic last monster standing match against Braun Strowman. The build-up that led to this match against Braun Strowman was also marked by monumental destructions. I also remind you that not long before he had just massacred Seth Rollins with several tsunamis in a row. What is the tsunami? It's his famous move. He jumps from the third rope like a tsunami, a wave crashing down on his opponent with his already massive profile as a big man, which makes this move much more impressive. So for all these reasons, I was very enthusiastic about Bronson Reed, and I must say that I was eagerly looking forward to this match against Seth Rollins. One could consider this to be perhaps the first major confrontation in a still significant PLE. Well, it's not the most important match of the year, but still, a one-on-one match against one of the biggest names in WWE over the last 10 years is no small feat for Big Bronson Reed, and I was really wondering what was going to happen. But let's still provide a bit more context. So we have Bronson Reed, who for several weeks at that time was indeed on the rise. Even if I still regretted it, even though it didn't bury him, since clearly he doesn't come out weakened considering how dominant he was. I still regretted that he didn't defeat Braun Strowman in that famous last monster standing, but, well, his overall presentation, the fact that he is portrayed as a sort of Godzilla of WWE, which I personally love, and the fact that he has still decimated many rivals lately meant that he wasn't, let's say, weakened for the future despite this defeat. That's basically the overall context. Did Crown Jewel break everything? Because what happened at Crown Jewel in this first matchup between the two, it is important to emphasize that it was the first time they faced each other. In any case, it's still a situation like that. And now Seth Rollins has defeated Bronson Reed. So it's important to emphasize that this was not a trivial, random victory at all. On the contrary, he defeated him by performing several stomps, which is Seth Rollins' finishing move. He had to do a stomp on the stairs, a regular stomp in the ring, and also a stomp like a super stomp or an amazing stomp from the top rope to win. So it's true that some might say, when it takes so many finishes to defeat someone, they still seem very strong, especially since at the end of the match, despite his loss, as Rollins defeated Bronson, it didn't stop the Australian from getting back up. So, while being covered in blood, looking at Seth Rollins as if he were not defeated and had not said his last word. So, we can still say that he is not completely down and out. In any case, at that moment, seeing this final situation, one can believe that there will be a sequel and that the story between the two is just beginning. In any case, that's what I personally hope. And we can say that despite this defeat, nevertheless, WWE insists that it takes a lot to defeat Big Bronson Reed and that he remains a real threat and someone very credible. Well, that's one perspective we can have, but there's another perspective that has been generating a lot of chatter. And it's true that I can relate quite a bit personally to the anger that many fans feel after this match at Crown Jewel. Basically, what is it about the fact that they lost? In their first one-on-one match, I already feel that it takes a hit on his aura. It's true, because whatever we think, certainly there is a way to do things, and I agree that not all defeats are alike. It's certain that if he had lost to just one stomp and a regular stomp, it would have been completely different. There he would have really been buried. But still, it took a lot more than that to defeat the Beast, let's say. So, there are several ways to lose, that's for sure. But being directly defeated in the rivalry damages his legitimacy, especially since, let's be honest, you could say that when it really matters and you need to win in a one-on-one match for now, at least in the fall of 2024, Big Bronson Reed is not up to the task. Rollins and Strowman have proven this. And I tell myself that clearly he becomes less threatening. On the contrary, I find that, as the past has shown many times, when we have matchups like there often are in wrestling between monster heels, as we call them, these intimidating, evil giants who truly represent dangers for the superheroes, I want to say, we have often seen that it is important for the monster heel to dominate and win for a while. In the end, it's certain that the outcome is always almost the triumph of good over evil. The hero defeats the monster. But what's the point if you beat the monster right from the first match between the two? Ultimately, what suspense or excitement is there for what comes next if you've already seen the hero conquer the monster? It's like in a video game or even in a series, in a movie, whatever you want, in any story, it's not exciting or stimulating at all to see the great enemy or the big bad being defeated easily, or at least in the first confrontation. Well, in any case, that's what happened, and personally, I am still worried seeing this. I wonder, does WWE really believe in Big Bronson Reed? Is he already, let's say, on the verge of being gradually buried? One might think because if Big Bronson Reed, let's say he eventually beats Seth Rollins without realizing it, we will feel that he has less aura and credibility than he had before. You say to yourself, yes, no, it's certain that he can still have a good future, but it's a shame to have weakened him in the process. What a shame. Well, for sure, I'm still worried seeing this. On the other hand, as we saw, the fact that he got back up during Rollins' celebration at the end, and that it took so much to defeat him, still makes him seem strong. And it's important to see the bigger picture, as they say, to have a long-term vision and to realize that nothing prevents him from coming out on top at the end of this rivalry. It's not over at all. There will probably be a second match, we can imagine. Why not even make it a trilogy while we're at it? In any case, one might say that what could really revive Big Bronson Reed after this loss at Crown Jewel would be a one-on-one match, still in a PLE, because those are indeed the most important contexts. So, a one-on-one match. Why not at that moment, at Survivor Series, which is a few weeks after Crown Jewel, and then to take his revenge, to perhaps create a trilogy afterward, at Monday Nitro to end the year. Frankly, that's what I would personally do, let's say, after Crown Jewel. One must also be patient and consider that Triple H, after all, we can imagine that this NXT protege, Bronson Reed, is not someone he wants to bury or someone who doesn't spark any interest in him. We can assume that he probably has a plan for the big man. And so, we can still say that we need to wait. We shouldn't be disheartened or get carried away. And we shouldn't be in a state of turmoil after this defeat, because there is still a chance to turn things around. So, we can feel a bit torn after this match, and we are wondering what the future holds now for Big Bronson Reed. In any case, personally, how would I book the next steps for him, Big Bronson Reed, to erase this defeat and regain his momentum even stronger? He must defeat Rollins in a one-on-one match. Moreover, it's funny because some internet users have started calling Rollins Seth Hogan. And why this nickname? Because it's true that Hulk Hogan, you probably know him, is one of the biggest stars in wrestling for many, many years. He was the big star. In the 80s and early 90s, he was the quintessential superhero who defeated a host of various threats, often in an undeniably convincing manner. He was somewhat known for the fact that when he was told he might need to lose to put someone else over, he would say, "That doesn't work for me, brother." Basically meaning, no, that's not going to happen. And it's true that he had a bit of a reputation for being quite selfish, so it's true that some might say, yes, but in this business it's a shark world where everyone has to look out for their own interests. But on the other hand, one could say, no. The greatest of all time are also so because they knew, in moments where they had a vision that went beyond their own interest, to highlight someone else and build a new star. I think, for example, of The Undertaker. This is what characterized him multiple times in his career, knowing that sometimes, very often, winning, promoting oneself, and putting oneself forward can enhance a character's stature, but he has also many times highlighted others. And rightly so. The end of his streak is a prime example for The Undertaker. Anyway, all this to say that a Hulk Hogan, for example, had this image of a guy who never does that, and who, on the contrary, will he always want to bury the rival and win at all costs? So it's certain that in the wake of disappointment, it's still common on the web to have a hatred towards the one who defeated the little favorite, or who, let's say, symbolizes a bad creative decision in the eyes of some. So, once again, as I often say, we need to distinguish between the performer who is merely executing a creative vision that comes from above him, and therefore differentiate pure booking, the creative choices, from the performer, the wrestler. Seth Rollins is not to blame in this story. So, unless given his status, he pushed himself to absolutely defeat Big Bronson Reed and refused to lose to him. So, in this case, it would have been selfish, and he would have been a bit like a modern-day Hulk Hogan, yes. But in any case, from what we can read on the web, it doesn't seem to be the case. Afterwards, we don't know, maybe it is. In any case, we still need to make a distinction between the two. The fact is that we can wonder if it was a good choice. The future will tell us if Big Bronson Reed will recover from this situation, from this defeat. We will see. It's still very interesting to follow nonetheless. But still, Big Bronson Reed shouldn't let the losses pile up. I still want to say that, by the way, a guy like that, at least a villain, really threatening and dominant, had to have a streak of invincibility for a long time to really build up, to truly gain all his importance and represent a real exciting matchup against a big name. And there, I want to say, it's as if a process that should have actually lasted maybe a year has been condensed into a few weeks, since Bronson Reed has built up momentum for a few weeks only to then head into his first big match and immediately lose, whereas usually that would have been something that took much longer. So, for all these reasons, I am still concerned. To return to Bronson Reed, I encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you think that this loss at Crown Jewel doesn't harm him, that the fact he still held his head high at the end and needed so many finishing moves shows that he is still considered strong and credible by Triple H. Or on the contrary, if you think it's really a very bad choice to have him lose in his first match against Seth Rollins, and that frankly, you feel he is heading straight towards anonymity in a few weeks or even months, let me know what you think. By the way, I take this opportunity to thank you for keeping the channel alive, for commenting, and for sharing your feelings. Honestly, it's great. It's all about sharing. It's the passion of wrestling to be able to discuss all of this together. So, feel free to express yourselves without any restraint, just like I did today. Thank you. Let me know if, on the contrary, whatever you think of this opinion, let's discuss it together whatever you think of this situation, let's talk about it. And if, on the contrary, you are confident about Bronson Reed or worried, feel free to say so. We will see what the future holds for him, and let's hope that, like Keith Lee before him, he does not become one of those. Let's talk about a wrestler with great potential in recent years who has been completely wasted by WWE.
We can say that this topic raises a lot of questions. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay in the paradise of wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?